The war did not begin with gunfire for the young American soldiers who arrived overseas, it began with silence. A silence heavy enough to press against their chests as transport ships slowed near hostile shores. Many of them had never left their hometowns, yet now they stood packed together, gripping rifles with sweating hands, staring at a horizon that hid both enemy and destiny. Letters from home were folded carefully in their pockets, carrying the smell of familiar rooms and loved ones. In that moment, the idea of heroism felt distant, replaced by a single thought shared by all: survival. When the first shots finally rang out, they shattered more than the quiet air, they shattered illusions. Training back home had been strict, but nothing prepared them for the chaos of real combat, where orders dissolved into instinct and fear moved faster than reason. The ground shook under explosions, and the sky seemed to tear open with smoke and fire. Men shouted names of friends, of God, of their mothers. Each step forward felt like stepping into history, unaware of who would live long enough to tell it. Among the soldiers was a farm boy from the Midwest, drafted just months earlier, whose hands once guided plows instead of weapons. He watched comrades fall beside him, faces frozen in expressions of shock rather than pain. Time behaved strangely on the battlefield, stretching seconds into lifetimes and compressing hours into blurs of noise. In those moments, fear became a companion rather than an enemy, whispering warnings while pushing him to move, to crawl, to fight. The enemy was no longer an abstract idea or a face on a propaganda poster. It was a human presence, hidden behind rubble and trenches, equally afraid and equally determined. The Americans learned quickly that war erased simple categories of good and evil, replacing them with survival and loss. Every captured position revealed more devastation, burned equipment, shattered buildings, and reminders that civilians once lived normal lives there, unaware their streets would become battlefields. Nightfall offered no peace. Darkness amplified every sound, making distant footsteps feel dangerously close. Soldiers took turns standing guard, fighting exhaustion as hard as they fought the enemy. Conversations became quiet confessions shared in whispers, about dreams after the war or regrets from before it. In those hours, friendships formed faster than anywhere else in life, bonded by shared terror and shared hope that morning would come without another attack. One night, an unexpected barrage forced the unit to scatter. Communication broke down, and small groups were left isolated. The farm boy found himself with two others, crouched in a shell crater as explosions lit the sky like violent lightning. Dirt rained down on them, and each blast felt close enough to stop the heart. They did not speak, but the fear in their eyes said everything words could not. Dawn revealed the cost of the night. Bodies lay where they had fallen, some American, some enemy, all equally still. Medics moved quickly, their faces hardened by repeated exposure to suffering. The living stepped carefully among the dead, learning to separate grief from duty. For many, this was the moment war became permanent inside them, no longer an event but a memory that would never fully fade. Orders soon came to advance again. The mission was critical, commanders said, and delay could cost more lives. The soldiers moved forward, aware that courage did not mean absence of fear but action despite it. Bullets cracked through the air, and the smell of gunpowder mixed with earth and smoke. Each man focused on the ground ahead, refusing to imagine what might happen if he stopped. In the heat of the assault, one soldier was hit and fell in open ground. Without thinking, another ran toward him, dragging him back under fire. It was not heroism as described in stories, but instinct driven by loyalty. The wounded man survived, though the rescuer carried scars that would ache long after the war ended. Such moments were rarely recorded, yet they defined the true character of those who fought. Weeks blurred together as battles continued. Victories were measured in yards gained and lives lost. Letters from home arrived sporadically, reminding soldiers of a world continuing without them. Some news brought comfort, others heartbreak. The distance between the battlefield and home felt immeasurable, not in miles but in experience. They were becoming people their families might not fully recognize. As the campaign dragged on, fatigue became as dangerous as the enemy. Reaction time slowed, tempers shortened, and mistakes increased. Commanders rotated units when possible, but war allowed little rest. The soldiers learned to function on minimal sleep, fueled by coffee, adrenaline, and a stubborn will to endure. Each sunrise felt like both a gift and a warning of another day to survive. One afternoon, the unit encountered civilians caught between advancing forces. Fear filled their faces as they tried to communicate in broken words and gestures. The Americans shared what little food and water they had, understanding that war punished the innocent most of all. That brief interaction lingered in their minds, a reminder of why the war was being fought, even as doubts quietly grew. The enemy counterattacked with unexpected force, pushing the Americans back. Chaos returned instantly, and the battlefield transformed again. The farm boy found himself firing without conscious thought, guided by training and desperation. Around him, the line held, bent, and nearly broke. The sound of artillery was constant, a thunder that seemed to have no beginning or end. When reinforcements finally arrived, relief washed over the exhausted soldiers. The counterattack was repelled, but the cost was high. Names were read aloud that evening, each one followed by silence. Helmets rested atop rifles stuck into the ground, marking where friends would never stand again. No speeches were made, because words felt inadequate. As winter approached, conditions worsened. Cold seeped into bones, and mud clung to everything. Equipment failed, fingers went numb, and illness spread easily. Yet operations continued, because war did not pause for weather. The soldiers adapted, learning to endure discomfort as just another enemy to defeat. Rumors of progress circulated, of enemy lines weakening and the possibility of an end. Hope returned cautiously, tempered by experience. Too many times before, optimism had been crushed by sudden violence. Still, the idea of home grew stronger, pulling at their thoughts during the quiet moments. During a final major push, the unit advanced through heavy resistance. Explosions tore through familiar terrain, now permanently altered. The farm boy moved with determination born not of hatred, but of a desire to finish what had begun. He carried memories of fallen friends with him, each step honoring them. The breakthrough came suddenly. Enemy fire slowed, then stopped. Silence returned, unfamiliar and unsettling. Slowly, the soldiers realized the battle was over. Some laughed, others cried, and a few simply sat down, unable to process the shift from survival mode to relief. News of the war's end spread gradually. Celebrations were subdued among those who had seen too much. Victory felt complicated, mixed with grief and exhaustion. The soldiers understood that while the fighting had ended, its effects would follow them home. Returning to America was both joyful and disorienting. Crowds cheered, bands played, and flags waved. Yet many soldiers felt disconnected, as if part of them was still overseas. Simple noises startled them, and quiet moments brought memories rushing back. Families reunited, embracing loved ones they feared lost. Stories were requested, but often difficult to tell. How could words capture fear, loss, and the bond formed under fire? Many veterans chose silence, carrying their experiences privately. The farm boy returned to his fields, hands once again guiding plows. Life resumed, but he was changed. He noticed details others ignored, appreciated ordinary days more deeply, and carried a quiet respect for peace. Nightmares came and went, reminders of what he had seen. Over time, they softened, though never fully disappeared. He learned to live with them, supported by family and fellow veterans who understood without explanation. Years passed, and the war became history to younger generations. For those who fought, it remained a lived experience. Reunions brought old comrades together, aging faces reflecting shared memories that needed no retelling. Memorials were built, names engraved in stone. The farm boy visited one, tracing letters with his fingers. Each name represented a life, a story, and a sacrifice that shaped the nation's future. He realized that the true legacy of the war was not just victory or defeat, but the lessons learned at immense cost. The value of peace, the weight of decisions, and the humanity found even in conflict. Telling the story became important, not for glory, but for understanding. He spoke to younger people, hoping they would learn without having to experience the same horrors. The war had taken years from his youth but given him a deeper appreciation for life. Every sunrise felt meaningful, every quiet evening a blessing. As age slowed him, memories remained vivid. He accepted them as part of who he was, neither hiding nor glorifying them, but honoring them. The American War incident ended long ago, but its echoes lived on through those who survived and those who remembered. Their stories stand as a reminder that war is not just fought on battlefields, but carried forever in the hearts of those who endure it.